Hello and welcome to Channel Sport on Sunday. I am Ken Ochonogo. Last week before we left, we said, is it going to be back to back to back? And they didn't disappoint. The Tigers of Nigeria, they prowled the forest of Africa. The Amazonians became the second team ever in Africa to win it back to back to back. Ferdinand Defensor was there last week, and he gave us the rundown. We're not disappointed. It is not always you have that. We've said that Nigeria is not just a footballing nation. Nigeria is not just a boxing nation. Nigeria is not just an athletic nation. Nigeria is a basketball nation. And then you can't take this away from them. Back to back to back. Beating the Angolans, beating the Malians, beating the Senegalese, beating the Cameroonians, beating the Ivorians. I tell you, what else can you say? Those are the Tigers. And then they said, that which is worth doing is worth doing well. Last week we were talking about how many matches. I think they are now almost on 20 matches unbeaten. They've not lost any match since 2015. On the continent, when it's there in 2017, 2019, this is what you see. When you do it well, this is the result that you get. We'll look at how basketball is coming on, and how we are going to get over it and see how we can leave Africa and also rule the world. Theo is here. Theo, you're welcome to the show while we are watching this. While we are,
a big deal. It's good to be back on the set again. I followed through, and sincerely, I was impressed. You asked before, there was a Twitch Twitter that are we going to do it for the third time in a row? Yeah. And doing a tripit. Well, I wouldn't say I didn't see it coming, like you said. They have been on the road, not losing games for as far as almost 5-6 years
yes.
now, and then, on the continent, they have been really, really consistent. The Tigers of Nigeria. So, yes, it's a good one for them. It's a good one for our basketball. And we now begin to even need to look more inward and bring up more of this talent, more of these ladies, and then let's take them out there and make sure we can go out there and conquer the world, Ken.
Yes, inward, because that is sometimes when we look at the tournaments, we try a tournament because yes, we did this with the aid of our daughters in the diaspora.
Yes.
A lot of them. I want to come back to make it a popular sport.
Yeah.
We want to see probably out of 100 secondary school, do we have about 20 or 30 of them that have basketball courts?
You
understand?
The courts,
because it is the mass participation.
Yeah.
Football is taking us a kind of mass participation because we just love it.
Everybody,
you don't need to advertise. It is like bread and salt.
And Gary.
No, but you won't see them advertising. People go over there. I think they call them gifting goods or so when we're doing economics. They are just their necessity.
Yeah.
So there's some of this point you need to go over there and make it, popularize it, and let this ripple effect. They are ruling Africa.
Yes,
if Super Eagles, I bet you, if Super Eagles are won back to back, I tell you, we're talking about earthquake now. We're talking about tsunami.
Yeah, exactly. You can imagine the craze. 2013, it spiraled over for months. That's the impact of when the Super Eagles won the Nations Cup.
Yes, all the governors were hosting them.
Everybody wanted to have a piece of the cherry to hoist that trophy.
I went to a challenge now. Yeah. Yes, we want to see how many governors. We want to see how many governors will host the Tigers, because what they have done is unprecedented. Yes. I mean, of course, in basketball, as a football nation, I know the Falcons also did it, winning back to back. But then now let us see, like we are saying, we want to see how many basketball-loving governors will host the Tigers, and not just host, but make by hosting them, by saying, look, we are hosting the Tigers. We are going to make sure we are going to build 10, 15, 20 basketball courts across our schools, our primary schools and secondary schools in the state, even in the tertiary institutions that we have. We want to make a basketball culture. That is what we are talking here. So we should not shy away. When we win this, I think, like I said, I always use the ripple effect.
Yes. But Ken, like you said it all, the fact that it's not we are a football-loving nation. Imagine if this was football, like you rightfully said. But a lot of people do not still seem to understand how big of a deal winning back to back trophies
in the continent.
on the continent.
Yes.
And the amount of hard work, level of dedication that must have been put into all of this, backroom staff, every single one of them needs to be congratulated over and over and over again, because it's no mean feat. Going out there against stiff opposition, Ken, it's
at a point when we have goals.
And my mind they cut.
Yes. The Senegalese, 11 times champions.
Yeah, it was no mean feat. Now doing it back to back, I think they need to be celebrated, Ken.
They need to be celebrated. So that is the Tigress for you. They went, they saw, and they conquered, and they put Nigeria, not on Nigeria's name, Nigeria's anthem. When your anthem is being sung over there, I tell you this. That is the height of patriotism. That is the best laundering of our image that anybody can give to us. That is the Tigers of this. Let us go to motorsport, because today actually we are at the end of what we want to talk about is 61 years of sports in Nigeria. But we're not looking at it from the angles that it has been done before. We want to see how what the journey has been like in the past 61 years. And then we talk about independence. That is what we became an independent nation. We're no longer dependent on others. We held our destiny in our own hands. We want to see if sports is independent. After 61 years, is sport independent? That is the question we are asking. And we shall look at probably some of the figures and see if actually sport is independent. That is what it's going to be. If it is not, what do we do to make it independent? And that will be what the show will be like when you guys join us. For those of you who are not who are watching us in terrestrial and the UK, I know the DSTV guys are. You are waiting. You will join soon and be part of this show. Lewis Hamilton, 100 wins.
Ken.
to 100 wins.
It's insane when you really want to look at it.
Yes.
He's been okay. The closest person is on 91.
And that is the great Michael Schumacher.
And that's the GOAT.
That's the GOAT. The GOAT for now.
Michael Schumacher.
Yes.
But he's passed Michael Schumacher a long time ago. But now it's a century of wins for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, century of wins.
It's massive. It's quite big. And there's always this argument about, Messi couldn't do it outside Barcelona. So he has moved.
Yes.
He didn't just win with Mercedes alone.
He won McLaren. He started with McLaren.
Yes. So he didn't just start winning with Mercedes and say, he had the Mercedes advantage. No, he's been able to do it outside of Mercedes, and he has been consistent. Ever since I started following the sport, Lewis Hamilton has been K is constant. He has been constant.
Jimmy will say Formula V.
Formula V.
But
no,
it is.
I never. Yes, Vettel had a certain amount of time where he was constant.
He won four championships in a row, and that was just it.
But Hamilton was always in the picture. Hamilton was always in the picture, and when it's your time, it's your time. But he has not just. He's milked it. He's the undisputed greatest right now. Yes, Michael Schumacher still has his
the same 7 championships.
7 championship, but Ken. And he sometimes he does seem to do it effortlessly. And it's not just about what he does on the race, on the tracks.
Yes.
It's what he does off the tracks as well. He's a fantastic human being. Everybody has come in contact with this guy and said, you don't have anything negative to say about Lewis Hamilton, his charity organizations, the way he reaches out, the way he treats his opponents, and Ken.
And then the Black Lives Matter movement, tackling racism,
yes,
using his podium, being on his knees.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
He takes on societal issues, and he uses he's almost a larger-than-life personality. He was still, I think, in Paris with Neymar and Mbappe recently. Yes. The fashion icon, he's just everywhere. But the 100... We really cannot understand how difficult this is, Ken.
Yes. He says sometime until the thing has passed, that's when you know that.
You need to look back and okay, this is actually absurd. Putting out crazy numbers out there. And Lewis Hamilton for you, of course, celebrated with his team. He deserves it. He's the biggest right now, as far as this sport is concerned, Ken.
He is the biggest. You can't take that away from him. He is the biggest. That is it. So let us see. Right now, he's also top of the chart there. Yeah. He is leading the leaderboard for this season. And see if number 8 will be a reality.
And when he gets number 8, I think the debate is closed.
No, the debate is closed because it's
I feel the debate has ended already, but then again.
Yeah, the debate has ended because some people only look at how many championship. They're not going to
Number
look
of
at
polls?
how many polls.
Number of wins.
Wins the stats because now with 7-7 the next things are champion. They're supposed to be wins.
Yeah.
But he's on 100 while Schumacher is on 91.
91, yeah.
So he keeps on creating that record. And then you look at how many number of polls. Always have a century of polls.
Yeah.
Century of wins.
And the closest person is like 30 or 20.
68.
Okay, they're
Schumacher
about.
is in 68.
So I mean, it doesn't come close. I think the debate is over. But then let him go for number 8, so that some Formula V people will just let them just calm down.
We'll be talking about 2020. Serena Williams, I'm talking about that she's number 24 refused to come. I bet in the open era she has 23. But people say, look, how good is she? How good is she? Let her win. And maybe she won that 24 equaling. And they would have said, okay, fine, she's the greatest. Yeah. But if you say winning how many gold medals at the Olympics, individual and double with the 6 stars. She even won 2 mixed doubles golds at the Olympics. So she's already a good. But they will tell you when did tennis,
the open era,
coming, of course, that's just the thing. All right, that is Lewis Hamilton. So let's talk a little about boxing because the great one, Manny Pacquiao retires. Of course, last week here we talked about Tony Joshua. We're saying, well, we don't know what is the issue with Joshua, but we also said a lot of us, probably including probably the camp of Tony Joshua, underrated Alexander Usyk because here's a guy who fought 350 fights in the amateur rank, 350, I repeat, and lost just 15. I mean, he won 335. 335. I mean, I would have given you the stats of how many boxing bouts that Joshua has fought, both amateur and professional.
Yes.
For goodness, because he started lately. He didn't start early in his life as a boxer. He just wanted his cousin somewhere. His cousin said, "Can we take it a look?"
When I woke up on Sunday morning because I was in Benin, and up until I got to the airport, people were still talking about this fight. Like they still couldn't fathom why he went on to lose that fight. But I still believe, yes, he was our box on the day. And then he lost to a better opponent. At least on the day.
On the day.
And then it's like, we had this conversation multiple times. It's the heavyweight. You put one foot wrong, and that could just be it.
Exactly.
You take one wrong jab, and you would probably be disoriented up until the end. But he held his own, and he was still able to take in the distance. But yes, I know there's a rematch clause. But just on a lighter note, I think the venue, to a large extent, of that fight.
People say sports. Why would you go and fight in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Tottenham has not won the league since 1961. I don't know how old Anthony Joshua's dad is. So you can imagine generations of not winning. And then the guy comes
you go all the way down to play. No. But that's on the lighter note.
I agree with you. And they say next time, let him go and fight. Probably he can still go back to the Emirates. He fought in the Qatar.
I think United Arab Emirates.
Arab Emirates was the second fight with his rematch with Andy Ruiz.
Andy Ruiz,
so probably that is what.
So probably we see a rematch and then he goes back to reclaim his belt. But I'll help people come out and say he doesn't deserve to be where he is. He's not a heavyweight like. But I believe he's a genuine heavyweight. He didn't get there by accident. Nobody gets there by accident. Yes, you have to work your way up. And yes, he's been able. He is fought. Yeah, you might debatable, but I still believe Anthony Joshua is one of the greats, as far as I'm concerned.
He is. I mean, a two-time heavyweight champion is not easy. Plus, add Olympic gold medal to that.
Yes, we can't skip that one.
You don't look about that is the Muhammad Ali's of this world. You Sugar Rees of this world. The Leon Speaks of this world. There are some of them that you want to have a security. They want this, they want that, and that is the thing. But here he's added that he won it, and then you can't take it away from him. He's an Olympic gold medalist. Yes. He is a two-time world champion, unified world champion.
And he can still go on to become a three-time world champion because this is not over.
No. See, the first fight with Andy Ruiz knocked him out.
Yeah, he did.
The second fight, like I said, I tried to place, I tried to juxtapose two fights. Leon Speaks having his 8th fight as a professional after winning the Olympic gold.
Medal, yeah.
And then Ali was thinking, look, my next fight is against Ken Norton. Their third fight. Ken Norton did not knock his jaw off. And this is one guy, he said he wants to fight. So let me join you as a warm-up. It was a warm-up.
Warm-up, yeah.
And then that warm-up ended up with Leo Speaks winning.
He puts him down, yes.
You understand? Then they came back for the rematch. In fact, Leo Speaks was supposed to fight a mandatory. I think he was supposed to face, I'm trying to remember who was a boxer. But he said, look, I want to, of course, if he's going to fight Muhammad Ali, he's going to make more money.
More money, yeah, obviously.
So he went for the Ali fight. And then Ali, see, that is the thing.
Ali taught him.
He kept him at bar. You don't hear me.
Again, I think that's what happened with Andy Ruiz the second time Anthony Joshua faced him. It was a lesson in boxing. And he all but taught him a lesson. He all but taught him a lesson in boxing. So, yes, some Pokemon I say, he was overweight, it was this, it was that. You are in the heavyweight. You came to defend your title, and you ended up losing it. And whenever Joshua loses, watch, he's always gracious in defeat. He lost probably on. He's not coming out making excuses.
No excuses.
No,
I fought a better man on that day.
On that day, because it's on the day. On my own day, you really be difficult for you to put me down. And I'm waiting for the rematch. But in the meantime, I know we should be looking forward to this match.
This is October 9th. October 9th. No, Saturday, 6 days from today. Will he remain unbeaten? They are going for the third fight. The first one ended at par, a draw. While that is Joshua. While the second fight between Tyson and Wilder. Tyson knocked Wilder out. We didn't expect that to happen because Tyson survived a knockdown in their first fight.
Yeah, he did.
So it will settle it in 6 days time. Of course, he was supposed to fight Anthony Joshua for a mega box of over. They would have earned over £100 million each. But then that fight couldn't take place because the judges in the US said, "Look, you give this man your word that there's going to be a rematch. Go over there and get it done." So that is
which I think is the right thing.
Yes, so that is what they are going to do next week. So by the time we're sitting down here on Sunday by His grace, we shall be discussing this fight.
Okay, and I'm hoping for a clean fight on that day. I'm hoping for a fight that will put a lot of things to rest because the banter, especially on social media, has just been back and forth. I'll do this to you, I'll do that to you, I'll put you down, I'll do this, I'll do that. I'm hoping for a fight that even Jimmy will watch and will say, okay, fine, I think the better boxer won on the day.
Yes, because like you said, what's his name? Tyson Fury has told Wilder that when they want to put the bandage in his hand, it should be there so that he will not watch and as if he slips.
Exactly. He put something in
objects there that it's going to be a clean. You understand that? Come and watch me.
I'm hoping for a clean and an interesting.
So basically, that is what is going to be. That will be on the night. But then in between, where we just had Manny Pacquiao. One of the greatest boxers of all time. 72 fights he fought, 62 he won, losing 8 and drawing 2. I tell you, he also fought about 60 fights in the amateur ranks before he fought the 72 in his professional fight. He says he is a senator since 2016. He's a senator in the Philippines. He wants to go for the presidency. He wants to rule his country. So he said, look, let me devote more time. I've been sharing because, like you said, you were talking about the foundation for Lewis Hamilton.
Yes.
Pacquiao caters for a great lot, of the Philippines. They look up to him, and he said, "Look, I am retiring. Let me face politics in full. Let me see what I'm going to do. If I can change the lives of my people, I've done that with using the ring. But right now, let me come and do it. Standing there, asking for their votes, which they've given to me earlier. That's why I'm a senator. But let me see if I can take it a notch higher, and then see what I can do for the Philippines. This is one of the greatest of all time. He's rated the best." Southpaw of all time by one of those boxing writers of all time, Bet Sugar. Bet Sugar said, "This man, is the best southpaw of all time." In boxing, you have the orthodox and the southpaw. The people like those of us who if you use your right hand, you lead with the orthodox boxer leads with the left, and because his punch is in the right. But then, the southpaw, that is him. The southpaw, they lead with their right because the power is in the left. So that is who he is. He came. He's done his best. We remember one of his greatest. The last fight was the fight against Floyd Mayweather. I would know how.
Remember that fight for the fight or for the money involved?
For both, because they kept that fight for some time. They would have fought that fight.
Interesting bout.
So
we can't help but talk about
it has to do with the money, and then especially when the money man is involved. You end. There are sometimes you say only this fight it is enough for you to retire, and you take care of your generation. generations. It is not just you. Let us live with the interest. Just keep the capital in the account. Say, let us be living on the interest. And I tell you, that is the man himself, Manny Pacquiao, one of the greatest boxers of all time. Yeah. He won titles. He won 12 world titles in 8 divisions. I tell you, 8 divisions. It was as he was getting heavier, he was moving, he was conquering, he was going.
So consistent. One of the most influential.
So you can't talk boxing without talking about him. So that is boxing for you. That is money for you. A lot of things has happened from last week weekend to next weekend. It's going to be 14 good days of boxing, and like you said, boxing will be dominating the social media and also the world of sport. On another note, when in Nigeria some of these things do happen, because during the week we just found out that Sunshine Stars just came one day and sacked everybody. They sacked, apart from the players. We're talking about Sunshine Stars owing 8 months, 9 months. Some of the last week we said we don't want to say what one of the players went on social media and started saying, look, you can't do this, you can't do this to me. I will say, but they came out with this release and said everybody is sacked, apart from the players and the coaches, all the back rooms,
all the ball boys,
all the ball boys were sacked. I don't know what contract the ball boys have, but ball boys, they sacked the ball.
I saw it. You see, I couldn't even say anything because where will I start from?
That's an Independence Day gift for them. The team doctor, a good friend of mine, he was also showing the door. A lot. They just let us see. Probably it's going to be a new beginning. Yeah, they might still recall maybe some of those ball boys, or there were some ball boys that were polluted. You know, they say politics. He's on this person's camp. He's the one that
belongs here.
He's the one that gives them information. I mean, that is all. It's a Nigerian thing. I mean, let us be professional. Sunshine Stars will love. There are some beautiful things came out of Sunshine Times some years back because we're talking about accountability. Yes. We're talking about telling us how many fans did come to watch your games, and they were consistent. They will tell you so and so number of fans, and which it is doable. Yeah. I think themselves and Canopilas were doing it at a point in time.
It's one thing to start something, it's another thing to sustain it. Sustainability, that's the issue we always face. But when I saw it and the fact that they sacked all those people, well, like you said, hopefully they get to bring them back. Hopefully and most importantly, maybe to usher in a new beginning for Sunshine Stars.
All right, that was a good solid foundation. Okay, let's go on a very short break. When we come back, we shall look at the federation selections, and we'll also look at probably reach out to our guests who are waiting to join the conversation. Stay with us. All right, you're welcome back at the Channel Sport on Sunday, and we're still looking at. I want to look at 61 years of Nigerian sport and see if sport is independent, as we say it. Jimmy has just joined the house. Hello, Jimmy. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, very pleasure to be here. And it's been a long time, though. I think I heard you talk about the Tyson Fury Wilder fight a bit, and it leaves a lot of questions as regards what happened to Joshua Usyk. I know privately we had this back and forth on the chat segment where I clearly stated that Joshua played Usyk's game and Usyk did him in. It's very simple. As a boxer, when you go into the ring with a puncher, it makes it very, very difficult for you to play the puncher's game. So Joshua is a puncher. Usyk is a boxer. He goes in there not using his own strengths. And like Tyson Fury's father said, the corner did not really help Anthony Joshua because they should have switched it and adapted to suit Anthony Joshua, taking out totally Usyk. Because at the end of the day, you can see that it's now about whether he's good enough or not. You need to be adaptable. You can't be losing on your feet because that's what I saw. He lost on his feet against Usyk.
Yeah. That is clear because, like you said, the coaching has to be there. That is why every 3 minutes you go to your corner.
Definitely.
And they give you that. Okay, let's see because I want to see if our panelists are joining us now. And if you're Udo Obong, want to see if he's there. We also want to see Okay, so we're trying to reach out. The moment they are all okay, the moment they are ready, we shall take them on, and then they will give us this. Okay, I think we have a Nefiok. Udo Obong is right there. Nefiok is, for those of you who do not know, is the most decorated Nigerian Olympian. He got a gold medal in 2000 in Sydney, and then also a bronze medal. 4 years later, he got another bronze medal right there at Athens. Nefiok, is a writer. Nefiok is one of those Nigerians who believe that, you don't just talk it, you do it. I remember Nefiok going to Jamaica in order to find out what is the secret beyond the success of the Jamaicans. Nefiok is an author. He is the author of Silver Lining. And so we want to pick his brain. And also when his other colleagues join this discussion on whether sport has been independent as we celebrate our 61 years of independence. Nefiok Udo Obong, you are welcome to the show, Annie.
Thank you, Ken. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for such a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Okay, and Nefiok, you've run the race. You've been on the track. You've been on administration. You were in Switzerland, getting your master's degree, also in sport administration, which means if we're talking about equipment understanding, well, there is no better place to go. That will start from you. How independent is sport after 61 years of Nigeria's independence?
Well, independence is. It's a very big word. It depends on independent from what. We'll hear a lot of words that can be interchanged with what you mean by independent, because I know we are celebrating our 61 years. And I'm sure you will have words like autonomy. It comes up a lot of times. But what are we independent of? Are we financially independent? Are we independent of the laws of the games? Are we independent of the arbitration? Are we independent as in we don't belong to a society or we belong to an entity? So we cannot have complete independence. The major thing with the laws of the game, of which we are independent, and we can say that in all sports in Nigeria, is we are independent in the rules of the game, in the field of play, application of the rules. So once a game is going on, nobody, be it government, be it corporate, can come and tell a referee how to whistle or how to rule, give the laws, or nobody can interfere with how the game is being run. And that's a form of independence. In the field of play, you have your own rules. On the streets, you can't go and punch somebody, but like you were speaking about boxing, in the field of play, in the ring, you can punch people as many times as you like, and you won't be charged to court because there are rules there, and that's independent of the laws, of the rules of the society. So you can fight in the ring, you can't fight, it's an assault when you go out of the ring. So that's a form of independence too. But people also talk about independence in governance. And that's a tricky one because we have independence in governance, but to have absolute independence in governance, you must have independence in
finance, in
financial administration, in income.
Yeah.
So he who pays the piper most of the time dictates the tune. So there's a bloodline there. You want to be totally independent, you have to be totally independent because governance comes with accountability, and accountability obviously has to do with some kind of finance. So we are still a bit here and a bit there in terms of that, especially in some sports.
Okay, a bit here and a bit there, and let's try to be a little bit specific because for the past 2 weeks now we're looking at a particular document that has to do with the appropriation for 2021, and then Ministry of Youth and Sports, and we found out that that particular ministry has 181 billion naira allocated to it. 181 billion allocated to it. 164 of that particular amount goes to NYSC. The NFF has 1.2 billion, NIS has 1 billion, and then for the Leadership Center has 1.8 billion, leaving about 12.9 billion at the headquarters of the ministry. And out of that, only 1.05 billion 1.05 billion or 1.045 billion was allocated to sporting activities. Is this from this thing we are seeing, is there funding? I mean, is there funding for sport? Are we serious? I don't understand, but I wanted to explain what I've just read out for what you think. What is the implication for sport? Let me just put it that way. What is the implication for sport with this particular appropriation?
Well, Ken, you've rightly broken it down. I wanted you to you explained very well that the Ministry of Youth and Sports is actually a dual ministry. It's two ministries. And it has to do with youth and sports. And 181 billion was appropriated, like you said, and you've rightly put that. And out of the 181 billion, only 17 billion actually is for non-NYSC, because by law, NYSC has statutory allowance, and that's 161 billion. So the Ministry of Youth and Sport, I won't just say sports alone, has 17 billion. And out of that, you know that there are some statutory allocations, like to NFF and to, you mentioned the other time, NIS and the rest. Then we also have recurrent expenditure, which is salary for both ministries, the civil servants of the sports and the youth and everything. So basically, it comes to a very minute amount. And I'd looked at the document very well. I'd seen some kind of allocations for renovation of a particular stadium, I think Ahmadu Bello University or Ahmadu Bello Stadium. But see, the truth about it is that I've observed this a little bit further, and I've been very generous to the youth and sport, and we try to see what really is for sports. I looked at the last Olympics, and I use that as a case study because I was doing something about the Olympics and doing the research and the analysis of our performance. And when you look at the top 10 medal countries in the world, I look at 5 of them are from Europe, but I don't count, it's really 6, but I don't count Russia because I leave Russia out because they were provisionally suspended in the Olympic Committee. So let me, as a member of the Olympic Association, let me follow its line of our association and not recognize Russia as a country. Let me talk about the 5 other countries that were in the top 10. And the 5 other European countries are Great Britain, France, Germany, Netherlands, and Italy. Now, if we look at what is spent on sports, the percentage of their budgets on sports, we will see that on sports, Nigeria, the percentage of the UK budget spent on sport is 0.4%. That of Germany is 0.6%. That of the Netherlands is 1.2% of the total budget on sports. That of Italy is 0.5%. See, almost a 0.5%. Even Kenya, which is the best African country, which was 19th overall, has a budget, or the total budget on sports, the percentage budget for sports in their total budget is 0.5%. But Nigeria, the budget for sports, the percentage budget for sports is 0.001. I'll repeat, 0.001. That is a thousandth of a percentage of the whole budget. And now I'm being generous because I've only removed NYSC. I have not removed the other statutory allocations and civil. You see, and majority of that money is spent on recurrent expenditures and salaries and the rest. So you can see that the amount for sports and for developing sports is almost minute. We can rightfully say that statistically insignificant in terms of development. And when you really want to know how insignificant it is, you can look at how much. Now, let me talk about those 5 countries again. How much do you spend per individual in your budget per year? And I will try and see if I can remember some of those figures. I've written them down somewhere. But basically, in France, they spend about $221 per individual. You can convert that in the current exchange rates now. In Italy, they spend $93 per individual. In UK, they spend $100 per individual. In Netherlands, $117. Now, these are the top countries. If you go to Africa, in Kenya, it's equivalent to the net spend per individual per year in Kenya is $250. But in Nigeria, if we generously look at the whole budget, and I remove only NYS and I leave the remaining 17 billion out of the 6 trillion budget we had, The net spend per individual per year for sport is 15 cents. That is 80 naira. So the government is spending 18 naira per year per individual. There is no investment we can do with that. We can't develop structures with that. So when you look at these things, we now see that there's a lot for us to do. We have to stop paying lip service. You can't come out and say that you have the 181 billion for sport, because when you break it down like you did, and if you go further like I did, you will see that nothing is being done, and we can't get the infrastructure we need, which is necessary for sports development and for growing our sports.
Thank you, Enni. You've broken it down further, and I think I don't want to remember the figures you have just mentioned, because it is like what I gave an analogy the other day here when we were talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito in the twins. The disparity is not what it. I mean, you don't even look at disparity here, because for goodness sake, it is non-existent. It is non-existent because you were talking about, I think the Wrestling Federation, they said they got them 20 million in a whole year, 20 million naira in a whole year. And I saw some line items. I think not just for sport. I think I will advise Nigerians, anytime these budgets come out, please try and look at the documents. Go and look at the breakdown. You will weep. You will weep when it comes to this. Just look at the budget breakdown. And I tell you, because what we saw going through for sport, I mean, it's heart-rending. It is not it. But then, Enni, I don't know, Enni is still there. Because now we're talking about the independence of whatever the government and the others. You and your colleagues, in 2000, about 21 years ago. Yeah. 21 years ago, you guys, got Olympic gold medals, and some of your mates also got Olympic gold medals from other parts of the world. In terms of endorsement, what did you get? How much endorsement did you and your fellow gold medalists get for winning the gold medal for Nigeria?
It's very funny you spoke about this, because I've written a few articles about this this day about endorsement of our athletes, and I don't even want to go so far to 2001, and I'm sure that's 2000. That's 21 years ago, and I'm sure that over the years there's been a lot of development, especially in branding, especially in new media. When we won our medal, we didn't have the telecom companies who have come and revolutionized branding and put in a lot of money, millions of dollars into it. But I just let me take, for example, what happened during the Olympics. The whole world, the whole country is watching the Olympics. And you just mentioned wrestling having 20 million naira in their budget. 20 million naira can't even take them for one local competition. It can't organize a local competition. That's an embarrassment. That's a shame. And if they want to go for even the Olympic qualifiers, they will need 20 million naira. Basically, can only take one person if you're going to train the person and pay the hotel fees and the airlines and the training. It's an embarrassment that we're looking at 20 million naira. When the Honorable Minister of Sports did adopt an athlete, I think it was 20 million naira per athlete they were telling corporate bodies to give. So if the government is putting for the whole federation, who without doubt is our number one federation in terms of performance, then it's an embarrassment to us. But going back to the issue of branding and endorsement, and we all watched the Olympics and we saw the excellent work of Blessing in wrestling and winning the silver medal, our highest medal in this Olympics. And the first time that wrestling has ever won a medal. She lost to an American, a Ghanaian born, I think, Tamara, I think is her name. And suddenly, little by little, the American girl has been introduced to the world of WWE, of course, because she's going to leave from amateur and go to the glamorous stage of pro wrestling. Of course, they will brand her in a different kind of an Olympic champion, and then she starts, the millions of dollars starts coming, and she'll be probably one of the first black female wrestlers as an Olympic champion. She probably, I can bet in the next 1 or 2 years, you start hearing her name in WWE champion. So that's how they will take her, and brands will come to her. She will become a voice. But in Nigeria, this is almost 3 months after we've come back from the Olympics. Nothing is being done to our athletes, and to the women. It's women that won. There are lots of brands that can go to women, and I criticize and I wonder if the brands are more interested in women that idolize some kind of immorality and sexuality, and that's what we see in some kind of TV live TV stations or live reality shows that we see now that everybody tries to associate with, and millions of people get and start voting, people with generally no kind of talent and no service to the nation. And even states put those kind of people as brand ambassadors, youth ambassadors, these ambassadors. But when you will have a young girl that works hard and gone to the Olympics, the highest achievement of human endeavor, won silver medal, come back, you can't even put her as your state. I'm not even talking about the country now, the state that has nothing, that's one of the smallest states in the country. You can't bring out and say this is a state ambassador from the smallest.
Okay, we'll try to join any there, and then we'll also see if we can get, if Osasu is on the line. We're trying to reach out to our other panelists who will join us via voice Zoom if we can get the pictures clearer. So when that is worked out, we'll get that. We also have another panelist who is on his way to Benin. Okay, Annie is there, Annie is back. All right. You were talking about a blessing. I don't want to shock you, but I tell you, blessing is going for a tournament now, and they are looking for money for her to go. That is how bad it is. But Jimmy is here. Jimmy wants to maybe Jimmy wants to make a contribution.
Annie, don't you think that is also the role of athlete management in all of this? Because at the end of the day, you want to consider the fact that most of the athletes that we have right now, they hardly understand marketing, or do they have branding teams, or maybe management teams that actually can support the cause?
Jimmy, that's what I was going into, and I said, yes, it is about the management. But the truth about it is that you cannot, the athletes don't have to understand management, and that's where I say managers look at the potentials within the space in which they are marketing, within their market, and meet athletes and say, look, we want to manage you, or let's manage you. Some very brilliant athletes can go and meet some particular managers, and it's not always. Sometimes when you go and meet them, it's as if they're doing you a favor, and it's like you're begging them to do it. But the managers can meet athletes and sign contract with athletes, but the managers too have to see that it's profitable for them. If the space in which they are operating is not profitable for them, I don't think a manager will go and invest so much in a particular athlete. I've seen some managers go into some athletes. I've seen some, but we have to know that what's the consumption like. At the point we are in our development, yes, some brands have to associate that what the athletes are doing is good for their brand. A company can come and say that, okay, Blessing, you represent strength, you represent boldness, you represent the independence of women, you represent something, and they would like you to come into that. It's not always. Yes, we know that athletes need to have management, but we know that they don't have, and we are trying to get some managers around them, even getting involved in managing of athletes too, so that we can share that. But we have to look at the market. Is it easier for me to go to a reality show that's going on and get one of the girls that expose nudity and some kind of immorality, and with brands associated with that? Yes, when they look at their followers on Instagram and everything, they will say, oh, it's much better for them, and this is what. So I think sometimes it's not just about the athletes getting the management, it's about the brands exposing the people. Do it as a corporate responsibility. That look, we want to change the narrative in Nigeria. We want to look into our heroes. We want the youth to start seeing this as heroes and seeing these people and start following them. Because until we do that, then we will never grow the sport. We will never grow the followership.
Okay, I think I like that, because, like you are saying, it depends on the values. And also, like you said, you were talking about the attributes of what blessing brings. Yeah. That, so you identify with a brand, your brand philosophy, your brand vision, what your brand represents. Yeah. I've seen brand, maybe somebody tests positive for drugs, and you see the brands will withdraw, exactly. Or your action is inappropriate, exactly. And they tell you, no, this is not what what was sponsored for.
The fastest man in Africa right now is going through those debacles.
You understand?
Because we had brands withdrawing just because they feel that the philosophy, their own philosophy, is not going in tandem with what Ferdinand Omayala is doing at the moment. So it says a lot about how the athletes themselves put themselves forward, how their teams put them forward, and also, most importantly, that I think that any may still want to talk about will be the role of federation in marketing those athletes. Okay,
I'm being told that we have Obayewana is on the line, but we can only ask him because his voice, he's not coming on. He's an international sport journalist and also a lawyer. Osasu, you're welcome to the show. I know you've been there waiting for some time now.
Hello, Ken. Hello, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
So let me ask you the question I asked Annie. 61 years after, do you see Nigerian sport as being independent as the nation is 61 years independent? Is Nigerian sport independent?
But you're asking me a question to which you already know the answer before you ask me. And everyone on the panel knows the answer to that question.
Definitely.
That, without financial independence, there is no independence.
At all.
And since there is no proper Nigerian sports industry that is self-sustaining financially, what kind of independence can you have when there is no industry that is generating an income to sustain itself? Let me put the question back to you, because you're not going to interview me today. We are having a discussion because you already know the answer to the question before you ask me.
Osasu, I'm asking you because of your experience, because of also, like we said, situational, looking at what we have and then what is supposed to be, what is supposed to be the norm. You just talked about sport industry. You had Annie talking back here and said, look, like if you don't have the finances to go, we look at that particular document of what the budget is all about. Now, let me put this to you. Based on what we are seeing, do we need a separate sport ministry away from the youth and sports if we have to be financial independent? That is, I'm talking about what accrues to all sport federation. If equity, we're looking at equity for sport vis-a-vis other sports. Do you think we need a different, a separate sport ministry as with youth and sports?
Let me tell you a little story about an encounter I had some years ago. I was attending the National Economic Summit in Abuja, and I had the opportunity to bump into the then Minister for National Planning and Development. I think it was Mr. Joe Doma at the time. And I went to him and said, look, your government listed 31 critical areas for national development, and sport was not amongst the 31. So why is that the case? And, he just smiled and he just said, we will get there one day. That was his answer to me at that time. So the question, to which, again, we already know the answer. What importance does the country place on sport? If there is no importance placed on sport, then you don't expect the government to take it seriously. We have a situation where, look, we don't have proper infrastructure for our sport, even at the grassroots level. We don't have proper structure, infrastructure for sport at the professional level. So how are we going to develop our sport? Even in more advanced countries with resources, you still have governments making investment in sport, at least at the grassroots level, providing the necessary infrastructure for young people to play sport, to be able to develop their talent in sport, at least to a point where if they are really good, then professional sport, which is supposed to be self-sustaining, should then take it up from that point. But we don't have that, and I really don't see a situation for the foreseeable future where that's going to happen. I mean, if we can imagine in football, which is supposed to be our most popular sport, we don't have one pitch of international standard in Nigeria right now. Let's just be honest. And to be frank, I'm amazed that CAF and FIFA certified Nigeria as having playing fields fit for World Cup qualifiers. Because if we are to be honest with ourselves, we don't have any. We don't have. And if a country of Nigeria's size is in such a pitiable state, and we're talking about football, then just imagine what the situation is for all the other sports.
Okay, Osasu, you just spoke about football, but we are going to go on a short break. When we come back, you tell us if football has been a cash cow or a burden on the Nigerian nation. Stay with us. Okay, you're welcome back. Our panelists are still there. We started with Eni. Eni is still there, and then he's giving us the figures, breaking it down. He's done it. And then Osasu just joined us also. So let us continue with Osasu, and we'll go back to Eni and see if we can get to Benin, because we're supposed to go to Bielsa, but our third panelist has been on the road for something positive anyway, because his team is playing in the finals of the Betsy Obaseke Invitational. So Osasu, I threw the question before we left. Football has the mass following, mass participation. The budgeting, like we just seen here, out of all the federation, football has 1.2 billion. While some are getting 100 or 220 million, football has 1.2 billion. But then, if we look at the EPL and some other leagues, that because of how much they earn, they use that to take care of others. Has football been a cash cow or a burden, an unnecessary burden on the people of Nigeria? Because the clubs, like we said, are all being sponsored, whether it is on state level or local government, it is still the people's taxpayers' money that is running football. Shouldn't we be earning from football instead of feeding football? Osasu, please, that question is for you.
Yeah. Don't you see how Ene is even smiling as you're even asking me the question? Don't you see how he's smiling? Look, we know what the situation is. Our football at professional level is tax funded. It is not funded through TV deals. It's not functioned through commercial activities. So really, what kind of league do we have in a situation like this? If we are talking at the club level, we have situations where clubs are owing players for 9 months, and some of them will still be allowed to play the new season in the professional league. Then you really ask yourself, what kind of work are the regulators doing, knowing that this situation exists? Then, okay, let's talk about the national team. The one national team that actually generates income for the federation is the Super Eagles. But you have a situation where if your management of the organization is not in order, your sport doesn't have a good image, then you're going to have a challenge with attracting the kind of income that you need in order to survive. And that's the same problem that the league is having. They can't attract the income because the league doesn't have the right kind of image to pull in the kind of sponsorship it needs. So we know if right now state governments in Nigeria decide we're not going to fund our clubs, you know that there will be no league, right? You do know that.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You do know that. Why are you why are you pretending like you don't know?
That's what I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking you. I don't.
No, you are asking me because you want us to have an entertaining conversation for the audience, but you know what I'm saying. You know very well. So look, I really don't know whether we want to have a sports industry in Nigeria, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yes.
I have the feeling, and I can give his own take on this, that certain people within the system are quite happy with the way things are operating. Because if you have a professional environment, competence is going to be the yardstick for everything. It's not going to be a question of whether you know Mr. A or Mr. B, or whether I have the capacity to be appointed to this position or that position based on whom I know. Everything is based on competence when you are running a business. So we really have to decide what we want to do. Whether it's in football, athletics, basketball, or any of the sports which we were involved in.
So in other words, football is also being carried on our shoulder. Like you said, it is tax funded. Let me come to Annie. Annie, you had Osasu there saying that football is tax funded. It is not television funded. It is not sponsorship funded. It is not in any way funded. That even ticket sales or match day ticket sales. It's not even funding our professional football. But do we have a sport industry here so that? Or like you said, that we have not decided. Do you think we want a sport industry, or we want it as it is, so that we can, the free money coming in from government will continue to flow?
Ken, let me just go a little back into that football issue on the finances that you spoke about. I'll still come into this industry issue because I know you put a question to Osasu because he's been in football for a while, and he has been very, very vocal in this kind of things. And I know how Osasu feels about most of these things. So sometimes I was smiling the other time because I know he knows that even before you ask him the question, you know his answers. And I always know his answers to those kind of things because things have not changed from when he has been advocating for some things. But look at football. Why do we have so many people interested in always wanting to be the NFF president, or they're so interested in football? Are they thinking about the growth? I don't think they look at the big picture. They look at the small picture. And I want to use the last year, for example, especially, let me call it the Moneyball. The NFF received 1.2 billion, like you say, from taxpayers' money. That's from the federal government allocation. FIFA gave the NFF, disbursed 93% of their $2.1 million that they were giving to them. They've given them that. That's over $1.1 billion. The NFF also has signed a contract has a deal with ITO, 500 million a year. That's $500 million. They also enjoy some sponsoring kits with Nike. I do not know the figures of that. I have not been privy to if there's any financial incentive to the Nike deal. They also had the FIFA also gave them a COVID-19 relief, $1 million, which I'm aware that FIFA has disbursed already. $1 million to Nigeria. And then recently, you saw they signed a contract with I think Airpeace and MTN. MTN is half a billion a year for 3 years, and Airpeace about 300 million. So all this money together, people are, when we see the problems in the NFF or we see issues, people are looking at this money and say, look, that's $3-4 billion a year that we're looking at, and we'll try to get. But is that money enough for the NFF? NFF, what are the functions of the NFF? We will look at the English FA, for example. Let's just use that the Yachty. I know we're never going to be like that, but I mean, we are 206 million as against 65 million in England. So I'm sure that we can build our football industry to be there like that. But the English FA has 335 million pounds budget a year. That is 234. Compare that to what Nigerian FA has. It's negligible. So most of this, they have a property, the FA Cup, which they generate revenue. But the NFF, do we have that property? Are we generating revenue from our property? ITO sponsors the NFF. MTN is now coming. Are they generating property? You spoke about match day sales. I don't know if they've ever announced a match day, before COVID anyway, a match day sales of how much Super Eagles get takings where. Or in clubs, how much the match days that the club is not the NFF's money, is the club money. But the NFF, they have the Super Eagles. Are we just satisfied that a government says, come, we'll host you, and we don't care about the match taking? How much does match day revenue take? Before we carry a match from Akwa Ibom to Delta to Lagos to Kano to Abuja, which stadium generates the most income for the Super Eagles that will allow it to perform? Are the governors, are they subsidizing this income? We have to understand where the money is and how the money is coming and what we need the money to do to improve infrastructure, to have projects, to have so many things the NFF should do, and it's not being done. What they're dependent on is the taxpayers' money. That's the easy money. It comes in statutory allocation. Every year we have 1.2 billion will go. So we have that money to do whatever we want, and we can just organize. It's so easy to do that. Also spoke about TV rights. We have a league We have probably what can be the biggest league in Africa, if not the world, and we cannot even generate revenue. We can't even, we don't even watch it. We have tools that we can generate. I think the NPFL have an app now. People can subscribe to it. These are money-generated issues. So that you can now watch the league. You can now see that things are going right. So a lot of things are happening which we don't really understand. So at the end of the day, what do we talk about autonomy? Is the NFF, should I say, is all the money going to the NFF? Are they the, I don't know the word you used when you were asking the question, but I don't think so, because the money going to the NFF is negligible. It's so small. And we have compared how much the budget is to Nigeria. So the NFF, I think, even the money they get, the 1.2 billion, is not even sufficient. I think if there should be any statutory allocation, which I am against, the government shouldn't give any money out. It should be more than that. But the NFF should generate money by themselves. And when they're able to generate money by sponsorship and everything, if they fight for president to not be. So if you have nothing to offer, you won't come to try struggling to be the NFF president. And that's my take on that. And that's my take on the issue of the money game in the NFF. Other sports, the ball is in their courts now. They are slowly but surely, we are seeing the independence, as you're trying to say, the autonomy. I want to put down that a lot of problems we have with independence are due to the problems of the federations themselves. And how does that happen? We just had a federation election. Some of them, they will tell you that we're waiting for government guidelines. How should the federation president wait for government guidelines on how to run their federation? Don't they have constitutions? I can remember when we were in there, when I was on the board of the NOC, the president of the NOC was always telling all federations, send out your constitution, that's approved by your international federation, let us domicile them, so that when time for election comes and the government says it's time to change boards, we say, okay, these federations have constitutions. And this is what happened this year. When it was time for election, only 2 federations came up with their constitutions. And the minister said that with their constitutions. And the minister said that those that have constitutions, run with your constitution. The AFN run with their constitution. I think basketball also is going to run with their constitution. I don't know, there was a problem with that, I think. I'm not sure about that. But the rest of them wait for government guidelines, and they're waiting for government guidelines. At the end of the day, waiting for government money, and that's how they are lazy about their administration.
All right, and let me just ask, Osasu to also round up, because we are almost out of time. Osasu, please, as you round up, I wanted to just look at the critical aspect briefly. I know I would have asked this question since how important the absence of sport arbitration in Nigeria, as important as that to the independence of Nigerian sports.
And you have come with this another question again, Coach. You've come again. Look. You know very well that I was a part of the panel that the NOC set up to draw a legal framework for the setting up of that institution. The roadmap, the legal roadmap, has been on the shelf of the NOC for about 9 years now. We completed that work before the London Olympics in 2012. So it is quite clear that the Nigerian sports community doesn't take it seriously. You know, they don't take it seriously. It's important. It will be good to have it, because especially when federations have issues with their athletes or their electoral issues, then we'll stop having governments interfere in these things. And then these things should be handled by a proper sports judicial body. That is the way to go. But I think there are people within the system who don't want that to happen. And that's why 9 years after the recommendations for how one should be set up was done, nothing has changed. It's still the same old story.
Okay. Thank you very much, Osasu. Thank you very much, Eni. I think this is a conversation that we keep having. It was quite difficult trying to get both of you, but I will try to get you guys back, and we shall continue to see how we can get this a pathway to a better sports industry in Nigeria. Thank you, guys.
There's 2 things here. Tyson Fury will eviscerate, decapitate, and annihilate again. And Lewis Hamilton, 281 starts, 176 podium finishes, 101 pole positions,
and 100 wins.
100 wins. What a man, what a champion.
The greatest.
The greatest.
I'm glad we didn't get to talk about Barcelona today, but looking at doing forward to the match
You're on your own.
between Liverpool and Manchester City.
Okay, we've now been told that Watford has sacked their manager. That is where Nigerian players, we have 5 or so Nigerian players that play for Watford. They just wish us happy independence. Okay, we wish you the very best as you leave Watford. Zisco Munez after 10 months. That is the man who has just been sacked by Watford after 10 months in charge. He took Nigerians there, but then it became a home for Nigerians, but no longer an abode for Munez. I am Ken Ochonogo. Have a blessed Sunday.